Alright. Gonna try to come up with a topic. Alright. Alright. Gonna come up with a topic now. Alright, cool, there are a lot of times where I believed in, let's see, fictional things, and I said this before, but I kind of wanted to tell people the reasons why I act the way I do sometimes around crowds, around certain individuals that my friends tell me not to talk to, or my parents tell me that are bad for me, or people that are things, because I like to formulate my own opinions. And whenever I formulate my own opinions, I try to gauge the reaction to stuff that isn't just coy, but is comforting. There are certain people that gauge their reactions and have certain body movements or anything like that. If they have a twitch or something like that, it doesn't mean that I'm hurting them in any way. It just means that they decided to feel nervous for some reason. Nervous about something that they basically have no control over. And that's people's reactions to their lives. It's the reason why everyone gets nervous all the time. It's the main reason for actual being anxious at all. Because you're nervous about something knowing about you and judging you for it. If you did something wrong, mind you, it's 1,000 times worse. Or if you feel as though you've done something wrong, because even the thought of actually doing something wrong or saying something wrong to someone can create a reflex, and it can make people feel angry or vicious. And that's sometimes the reason why people don't understand that if they feel like a person in the military that has killed people or taken people out, if they feel bad about what they did, if they feel bad about how they did it, a reflex is created no matter what. That reflex, whether it's denied or accepted by the mind, sometimes can make things lay dormant. Like memories that you once thought you lost, or things that you thought that you weren't able to control, and you thought you'd leave behind. Situations and different people's reactions, I guess, because when you say a joke or a thing, you want to be able to tell people exactly the way you feel about something and exactly the way you want to say things without having to tell them about everything. Because if you got into everything, then it wouldn't be as funny as if you just said the anecdote. Granted, other people would probably have to know exactly what you're thinking about, because I think my brother is I don't know, he's finally getting older, and he's getting more mature, and realizing that the things that happened in his life are they're not wrong, because there were some very, very bad people out there, and they were just something that was for a time, and then that time passed. My brother's close to retirement, and it's really awesome. And I really hope he comes to New Orleans in season. And I hope he brings his kid and his wife. And but I also know that there are other people out there that don't have it so easily, that have seen things that they can't explain or know, and they don't understand the reasons why things are happening, or the reasons why people are doing certain things or saying certain things, or the reason why certain things are happening. Just realize sometimes you shouldn't stay calm. Sometimes you shouldn't be calm, because some people have no reason to know that, to know why a person stays calm in a messed up situation. Some people don't know that sometimes people realize those things can happen, and when people realize those things can happen, whether they've been trained to do them or not, sometimes they react differently and react the right way, because because of the way that they've prepared themselves mentally. And that's what I mean by being prepared. I don't say, like, shoot guns or tell people that you're awesome or any of that stuff. Or try to be confident in front of people, because realizing that you have confidence is the fact and the centeredness of self. It means that you're centered. It means that you're constantly centered. It means that you're able to be not balance of just body, but balance of mind. And realizing that through certain centers of focus, there are people that can do amazing feats. And those amazing feats can also be used, not used, but those amazing feats can also be demonstrated. And a lot of time what Shaolin monks and a whole bunch of different people do is they prepare themselves mentally first for something. They calm themselves completely, because of the fact is they're going to be doing extraordinary things. They're going to be doing very, very extraordinary things, and they need complete centeredness to be able to do them. Like throwing a needle through an entire pane of glass. And that was a pretty thick pane of glass. Gavin. It was really cool. I really liked it, and I really thought it was awesome. And it demonstrated the fact that mental power and mental prowess can be so can be very amazing and extremely eye-opening about the processes that are the human body and the human mind. And I also know that the process of thought within a human person's mind, or within any person's mind, or whatever people consider themselves sometimes, because there are people out there that consider themselves furries, and they do that. People don't know what grows hair. Sometimes it's actually the thought, sometimes, that people don't understand. It's the thought that there is complete and utter silence, because so the body waits for something to be able to enact it. Being able to grow hair is not an evolutionary trait, but an evolutionary change. It's the reason why your hair isn't alive whenever it's outside of your head. It's the reason why it grows, and the reason why the hair follicles themselves are almost like trees. It takes in different minerals and nutrients from different things. It could be the color of something that you thought of, because humans can make color off of sheer thought. And whether they've been genetically enhanced through breeding, or not breeding, genetically enhanced through mating, or a bunch of different thoughts that kind of make a patch, because that's what happens sometimes when a person goes through a piece of stress, a series of situations that were messed up, and they were scarred forever. Mentally, that's what happens sometimes. They get a strand or two of gray, or they get a whole hair of gray. It depends on what they're experiencing at the time. So when realizing, in fact, someone who wanted gray hair, when they were a kid, they saw someone with gray hair and was like, wow, that's really great. That's really amazing. And didn't realize where the hair came from, or not where the hair came from, but don't realize where that hair originates, the thought that originates that kind of hair. See, that's the reason why sometimes I think that old people aren't that old, sometimes. And the reason why I don't believe in death, because gray hair merely insinuates that something is dead. White and grayish and like a bone gray or eggshell gray hair insinuates that eggshell white. Sorry. An eggshell white hair insinuates that something is dead when it's actually not. So I think that a lot of people don't realize that their camouflage is literally just people thinking that they're just non-existent or not a part of society. I think old people have Bitcoin. I think they've been doing a lot of things with Bitcoin in other countries right now, probably. So I think old people have Bitcoin, but understandably so. I mean, they probably just bought some and let it sit until they make all of it. Because old people aren't stupid. Probably because they want Bitcoin to become a currency, like a world-renowned currency, and that's probably on the right track of actually making a world government. But a world council, basically, not a world government, not something that completely and utterly makes laws, but one that works with every single nation to be able to make sure that we're all on the same page. And that's not in no way was it ever the UN, because they are speculative. They're speculative nature all around the UN. The money that countries invest in different kinds of places and different kinds of people, that's the reason why people don't like to say celebrities all the time, because they like to sum things up. They like to speak for everyone, but understandably so, they shouldn't be. That's the reason why it's a show to the US right now. Because of literally every single celebrity that has ever showed their face on every single television, or every single time, or every single website. That's the reason why. Because they're trusting celebrities' word, and celebrities manipulate governments all the time. Celebrities manipulate governments for peace, sometimes for war, sometimes for stupid shit, sometimes they just share a few ideas. Granted, that's fucking stupid, and it's called coercion. It's the reason why most celebrities are people who have done stupid, terrible things. It's the reason why sometimes they're outside the country now. Because they know they'll be persecuted by the US, by the evil US, who knows what they fucking did. And no, it just didn't have to do with just having sex with a certain age of a girl. Granted, that is pretty damning. But understandably so, it's probably because they funded certain militas. It's probably because they decided to run drugs through certain countries to be able to pump up an economy, and then realize that after that economy happened, after that economy was booming and everyone was walking around, they just left, and left with all the money. Because they all put it into cryptocurrency, a kind of cryptocurrency that is untraceable. But understandably so, that is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not that. Understanding that celebrities do help sometimes, but only when completely and utterly responsible. But even then, the word doesn't always get out because of people who just don't like those celebrities. That's the reason why I compel and I wish that the UN would probably just bring in witnesses and people that or bring in friends of witnesses, or bring in people who have seen things. And people have known exactly the reasons why sometimes they couldn't explain what was going on. And that's the reason why. That's the reason why the US is backing down sometimes. Oh, trust me, they'll stay there. They'll still have a desk. But they're just backing off for a while. Because of all the stupid shit. Because of all the dumb stuff. Because of all the things that people are trying to promote, when knowing that people won't listen because they'll just use it as an excuse to do bad things because they're stupid. And no, I'm not insinuating that anyone is lying about their age or anything like that. Although it could be the fact, because I've been lied to about people's age before. Granted, it was in the reverse direction of their age, and they were posing as say a beautiful young lass. But understanding that people don't understand anything about what's going on, or anything about what's happening. People can get into stuff completely and utterly alone from what they actually believe. In every single instance, they believe something because of their opinions. That's what you have to understand and realize. That to see someone that they've never seen before, to see someone that they've never understood before, is the reason and the thing that changes minds. I mean, I know Emma Watson was all, like, up in that stuff at the UN, but understandably so, she wasn't talking about any issues. She was talking about her own life. And there are things that I could mention, but I really wish not to. Understanding what people deserve to be, or what people want to be in their lives. There are lots of reasons why people themselves don't understand certain parts about themselves, or certain things about themselves, or understand certain things that they planned for themselves when they were maybe a young baby. Because
Be gonna be dead, motherfucker.
Wee, 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 wee.
Hey, he's trying to jack his ass.
Gosh darn it. I noticed a lot of times when people were doing a lot of different things for me, I noticed that they were doing it very quickly. And that kind of made me afraid. It made me afraid of being alone. Because I realized that I wasn't I wasn't ready for things. I wasn't ready, and I knew I had to get mentally prepared. I had to get mentally prepared for the environment around me. And I realized that there were a lot of things out there that could harm me. And a lot of people out there that literally wouldn't hold back. But also I realized that there were a lot of people out there that I made friends with because of it. There were a lot of people out there that deserved a lot of different stuff. And realized a lot of different people were there, and realized that there were people out there that there are people out there that help, and realized that those people that help that are sometimes never even noticed, or ever even go noticed at all. And that's what I think that the realization of true freedom is the fact that everyone can be a celebrity, and it's not just because of their family, or the fact that they're prestigious or respected. And that's what I think YouTube is all about. And that's the reason why sometimes I don't consider myself a YouTuber, because of all the people that are constantly just trying to make a name for themselves and move to different platforms. They have no idea the potential that could actually happen because of this. YouTube could literally become its own network. And if people invest their time in actual money, then it could actually be something of validity. And there are some people that don't want that to happen. Understandably so, their opinion doesn't matter to me. And it never did. And it never will. Because there are more people that are actually expressing themselves because of YouTube and because of a lot of different other platforms than any time before. There are a lot of people that are actually telling on their parents if they're trying to make a bomb, or telling on their parents if they're trying to do something that's wrong and they don't believe in it. And it may be not as wrong as people might think, but sometimes it is if the child actually believes in something and wants to be able to hold on to that for as long as possible. Whether it be a lie or something, they're a child. They believe in lies sometimes to be able to get through and get over pain. I just realized that I had a gift sometimes, because I realized that I could draw down whatever thoughts were coming into my mind, or whatever things were coming to me, and I still can to this day. I practiced for a very long time, and yes, I got F's on a research paper. And really, those two things are correlated is because I just wanted to draw. I didn't want to have to explain myself to anyone, or I explain any of those books to people, because a lot of things, the moment that I noticed that there was something in the book that I didn't agree with, and because it didn't happen at all, and it won't happen. The Statue of Liberty is not made out of copper or bronze, or any of that matter. And they're gonna have to know that there were kids out there that decided to mess up different things. They decided to have reprints, and those reprints were in other countries, and those other countries made jokes. And because of it, a lot of kids and some people are ignorant today. But don't worry, because people always fix the facts. There are always people out there that try to do stupid shit and try to say stupid shit. And there are always kids out there that realize that there's something wrong with the words that they're seeing. There's something wrong with the people that are trying to tell them something that's right. And sometimes they just smile because they know they're going to lose their jobs because they never wanted it in the first place. They never wanted to teach special ed kids that a fucking statue of not copper, it's copper. Yeah. Shit. The Statue of Liberty was bronze or golden or something like that, or it's dumb. Because there were people out there that taught kids completely and utterly wrong, and those kids decided that they were going to get angry about it. And then sometimes those people decided to put them in a situation where, and then they told them they were the enemy that put the thing in there. There were a lot of times when disabled kids got manipulated and literally got labeled as terrorists.
Lucky miss!
And there were also a lot of times when people themselves didn't understand that celebrities weren't going to cause the end of that. People speaking out and saying something was going to start the end of that. There is no celebrity in the world that can cause world peace. There is no group of celebrities in the world that can make world peace. Because they are not every person, and they never will be. Nor will they ever try. Because most of them don't even care. Don't care enough to give them money instead of flaunting it. Don't care enough to tell them about their life instead of telling about their schooling. So what they usually want to hear about is exactly your life. It's the reason why they pay you so much money, Emma Watson. Because they believe it's a part of your life. And if you speak in euphemisms and metaphors, then they don't get anything. And they don't understand what happened, or why you turned into such an amazing person. People want to change their lives constantly. People want to hear something that's meaningful and constantly well, and constantly good, and not just those two adjectives. But also realizing that people will change in time, and realize that there is no fact out there that is not worth changing sometimes. Did I say I believed in magic? Maybe I did. Also, too, people have no idea the amount of things that people usually described in magic was almost everything that happened in science. Because they read books about science and didn't realize they were reading books about science. Science is the measurement. The measurement. The measurement. Not the study. The measurement. Chemistry is the reaction. Of different materials that meld together and create a new or changed element. Science is the measurement of all of those things. That's the reason why they came up with the scientific method. Hence the reason for it. Don't try to change it. It's a stupid thing if you do. It's a very stupid thing if you change the scientific method, or ever try to skip the steps or switch steps around, because then people realize that you're not a scientist, or you're not practicing scientist, you're just making a joke, and it's not funny, ever. Because that's what that thing changing colors was. People don't realize that there are elements out there that can change color, not at will, but if they synthesize a certain mineral, and they didn't have to whisk it around, because it was just changing color on its own. Hence the reason for, what's the word, invisible ink? It's the reason for invisible ink. It's the reason why you write on it, and on the wall, and then the light itself is off, and if you turn off the light, then it changes color, or it glows, or something like that, or black marker ink, or any of that color stuff. It's just a marker. That's all he put in there. A color-changing marker. I saw a dude basically try to come up with an experiment and then try to see himself make a new element or something like that. But he didn't make a new element. He was just playing around with markers. He was playing around with markers and then realized that the colors didn't have to mix, and if you synthesize not the ionic bonds of anything, if you synthesize a certain color, it can change into another color because of the minerals that you use to synthesize it. So basically, the colors that we get today are nothing like the ones that happened in the olden days. They used blood and mud for, they used blood for red and mud for brown. It's the reason my kids aren't allowed to make finger paintings anymore sometimes, because it gets too messy. They tell them to make turkeys, and then color it in with color pencil. But it's putting paint on your hands. People don't realize it dries your hands out when you get older sometimes. It's the reason why I had to realize that the hard way. It does something sometimes, because the colors sometimes adhere to your skin. You have to wash your hands immediately sometimes. And it's not poisonous or anything, but your fingerprints could become more profound. And also realizing that that if you ever put your hands on the ground for some reason and don't wash your hands, it's not because you're working on cars that your hands are getting that way. Because you're putting your hands on the ground, trying to get up and stuff. If you smack your hands on the ground, you can make your hands numb. Robots make everything better. You won't have to get on the ground so many times and get your hands all dirty. So if you spank your kids or realize that your kids are gone, and I'm completely alone, then you won't be able to spank them anymore. Because they realized how much it hurt the first time, and that's why they left. They're never coming back. Sorry. So realize that people are out there that are helping. But also realize there are people out there that if they try to shake your hand, and it's weird to me because I know Navy guys, because I shook a dude's hand who was in the Navy, and I know all dudes in the Navy eventually get this. It's because they held their hands on rope. They hold rope sometimes. They held rope in the old days. They can actually rub off their fingerprints because of it, and their fingers don't have fingerprints eventually. What they don't understand though is that there are people that did that outside of the Navy, and the reason why also is The fact that a person in the Navy doesn't go up and say hi to you automatically, or say that they're in the Navy all the time. Because usually there's something about them that they don't want to share. That's something about them that they don't want to share. I'm sorry I said that wrong, because my mind is all weird and all over the place sometimes. So realizing that that people out there decided that they were going to do the exact same thing, also realized and didn't realize that they were doing things wrong, that they were saying things wrong, because that's the reason why some people get away with murder and a bunch of other different things, and they don't leave fingerprints. So the realization of the fact is that people don't realize that there are bad people out there. The numbers were right sometimes. There are at least 35 to 40 different serial killers in the United States at any given point. I know they're not being held in a prison somewhere. Sometimes they're walking around. And it sucks. It really does suck. And it has a lot to do with the economy and the way that it tanked. And the way that people left their careers behind a lot. But understandably so, if that had never happened, those dudes would have never known their physical break. And also, that's a sucky way of telling a person that they're mentally disabled or mentally handicapped. But, hey, you know, markets, right? People can be extremely insensitive to people's disabilities, and the reason why sometimes people hurt themselves because they don't want to hurt others, and then they realize that eventually they'll gain that reflex anyways because of something that they've seen on TV, and the realization of the fact that they make something up, or they do something, or they say something. So the reason why a lot of times it's easier to play video games for me is because I get angry sometimes. And I don't want to do any violence, or don't want to hurt anyone. But I don't want to simulate a violence either. It's the reason why I'm not shooting a gun at the screen, or driving an entire motorcycle inside of an arcade. Because I don't really want to feel like what it's like. It's dangerous. That's all I need to know. You know? Extremely dangerous. God dang it. Shit! Didn't see that guy. I was gonna run if I didn't see him. If I didn't see him. God damn it. Alright, I'm getting better at this. I'm trying to help myself, and realizing a lot of times where if the UN wants to be taken seriously about anything, I know for a fact that they need to start talking to more people. They need to start trusting more people, and knowing that they actually have friends inside of sometimes even terrorist cells, that people who want to get out because they made a mistake, and they can't because they believe that they're going to be killed. The realization of fact is, if you want to change something, if you want to realize that there needs to be change, if you want to realize that anyone needs to be changed, then you're going to have to understand that the facts is people were just out there. Everyone decided that there were teams. They lied to each other constantly. They don't trust each other. They don't trust each other at all. All you have to do is talk to the one that you think is the most honorable. They might try to hurt you, but then eventually they'll go to jail and realize what they did. And also they'll understand a lot about their own lives. They'll realize the fact that they shouldn't try to make people feel scared all the fucking time, or try to realize that they were a certain person at this entire time and that's the reason why they were acting like that. It's fucking retarded. Because they watch movies and make excuses and dumb shit. There is no excuse for bad behavior. And that's what being an adult is all about. There's no excuse for stupidness. But understandably so, it can change people's lives. And that's the reason why I love it. And randomness is pretty awesome. Shit.
Piece of shit!
Alright. Realizing that there are people out there that, but also too, if the UN doesn't want to take those risks because they believe they're going to get their money stolen, because they actually think that people know how to use computers in Israel. Believe me, those computers have been taken away from them for a reason. That's the reason why they got angry and pissed off, because all they wanted to do was hack, probably. And a long time ago, it was the worst thing in the world to do. And it probably was the reason for the KGB and a lot of different people getting their guard up, because they actually thought that there were terroristic cells in a bunch of different places. And a lot of times it gave those gangs more power. It turned them into terrorist cells. And that's the reason why I didn't like Nixon that much, because I studied him. I studied his movements and his behavior and all of his different things. He was afraid. The man was afraid for his life, because he thought that at any moment there was someone that would come through that door and literally shoot him through the head. Every single person was afraid and scared of their lives, and scared for their lives. That's the reason why they all got angry. It's the only reason why they would all get angry. And that's the reason why they would get angry at all. They weren't trying to divide or conquer anyone. They were afraid of Africanist militias trying to take over an entire civilization of America, where people themselves who fled Africa because of so many different kinds of slavery and so many different kinds of cannibalism, because there's more than just one kind. And not just, oh, I'll emotionally say this, but the more than just one technique to be able to lure people in, to be able to make them feel comfortable, and then kidnap them and then try to eat them, or try to literally send them into sex slavery, or stupid shit. There's fucked up shit that people do on the guise of actually doing something good. I know for a reason that a lot of people who posed as different priests in Africa and different places like that, because I know they put those neck things on, and they weren't priests. What's up, Kenneth? How's it going? You chilling out? But also, too, I realize that there are a lot of other people out there that try to protect against them, but then again, don't say anything. Because if they don't say anything, though, they're gonna find out that there are a lot of people out there that actually really did have their back, and still do to this day. And I know saying stuff like that makes me more of a target, or makes me anything, but understandably so, I've made it to where I'm completely and utterly safe. And also, too, the U.S. government has probably helped a lot of people on YouTube be able to protect their identities, no matter who they are, no matter if they share their name at all or not. So I know for that much. But there is a real potential out here for all these different kinds of places, kinds of things that hold different people's things, to be able to become sponsored by YouTube or some sort of thing, not just become partners or anything like that, but become a part of their content, and realize that there are situations out there that people do because they don't want to be a part of something anymore, because they can't control it. And that's probably what Logan Paul did. Just because they can't control something, they let it go, and they say it's not theirs anymore. But understandably so, it could have been, even if they didn't want to control it. But only if they didn't want to control it. There are a lot of people that understand certain things and know certain different things, and they don't understand that sometimes when kids are seeing too many images of certain things, because that's all he wants to do sometimes. That's what shock jocks do. They fluctuate their voice and hide things and try to insinuate emotion when in actuality they're not dead inside, but they're just fucking stupid. Understandably so, there are people out there that do it respectably. And there are a lot of times where I was inspired by a lot of those different people. And not just on YouTube, but literally Johnny Carson A lot of different people, and I imitate those people because I think that is amazing, and I want to make my own jokes, be able to emulate what they had, but not really emulate, but be inspired by. There are a lot of people out there that really believe and a lot of times the reason why they're staying out of the UN is because not a lot of people have internet service. They only have internet service through certain providers, and those providers are shutting down their things because they want their own governments to be able to make their own satellites or make their own stuff. SpaceX is probably taking contracts now. Probably. There are a lot of times where people need to understand that this whole thing, this whole differentiation of product or differentiation of services, that there were people out there that really were trying to ruin everything. And there were a bunch of different organizations or people who thought that they control something, and then they called themselves something and then outed themselves. And that's how they got caught. Every single one of them. Realize that gangs don't last in America. Ever. I know sometimes they don't always get a second chance. Sometimes it's the only chance they had. And they got manipulated by a system that they thought was completely and utterly evil, when in actuality it was just trying to test their mentality and made them realize that they had gotten hurt some way. But sometimes they didn't want to realize that. And if they didn't realize that, then sometimes they got through to the other side to believe and know into something that was powerful and good. And sometimes they just act all a little snide or maybe sarcastic every once in a while because they enjoy it. And they wanted to enjoy it. And they wanted to come up with different ideas for it. But also realizing that those people aren't all bad. Realizing that those people aren't completely bad is the main reason of what keeps them completely and utterly safe. And what keeps those people who are being held hostage completely and utterly sometimes dead, sometimes terrified, sometimes worse than dead, sometimes used over and over and over again as a sex slave against their will, underneath a complete and utter amount of drugs that they can never get out of. Because they can't run away, because that's the reason why they're kept on a drip constantly sometimes, and that's what they should know. And that's what happened in a lot of neighboring countries from Russia. A lot of times people didn't know about that information. They didn't understand the reason why Putin was so fucking terrible to people sometimes is because he knew what they did to be able to get there. When an entire country decides that it's just going to shun gay people and say that they don't exist. But all of this was someone's plan. All of this was someone's intention when they decided to be able to try to make this stupid shit happen. Because I knew how stupid they were. I knew exactly how stupid they were. And I saw how close they were to it. And if they think for 1 second that they'll ever get away with it, they have another thing coming. And they'll know and understand the exact reasons why I don't let that shit fly. And I never will. And that shit is taking care of people after you completely tried to rape and murder their family. That is completely and utterly ruining someone's life after you thought that they tried to look at you weird. Trying to break someone because they didn't like you or something, or trying to come up with an excuse to hurt someone just so you can feel better at night and not have any bad thoughts. But understandably so, those bad thoughts will come. Because they always do. And they always will. But if you understand that those bad thoughts will pass, they will subside if you center yourself and breathe, you'll also realize the amount of things that people really know and understand. You'll understand the amount of things that people really, really get through. And you'll understand the reason why the human condition actually is the way it is. And you'll understand that you yourself are human too. So, I think that's where I stop right now. Because I'm getting really serious, and I don't want to always be serious, because I like to talk and stuff. Remember, you are your own one-man personal, metaphorical bomb squad. The more you do something, the more you help people, the more you're able to make sure that people are safe, and realize that, yes, if they remain safe, if they help people, if they do the same things, then eventually they'll be able to become their own hero. Or their own metaphorical, personal bomb squad. To be able to defuse situations before they happen. And realize that situations are the way they are for a reason, and that sometimes they shouldn't be changed. But understandably so, a lot of things are going to. Only because of specific things that I've learned over a specific period of time. And understanding the fact of knowledge is because I don't feel as though that I should ever tell those things sometimes unless they actually happen. Because I'm not fucking paranoid. I'm just careful.
I hear that.
I'm not paranoid at all. Sometimes I'm just very, very alert. And also I say voices to make myself feel better. So.
I know what you're saying.
Like Irish voices, because I'm Irish and I know I am, and it's funny because I had a shirt that had 0% Irish. It's funny. So
So right.
I'm Irish, I'm Dutch, I'm French, I'm German. I'm Irish, Dutch, French, German, Jewish, Scottish, Cuban, and Native American. All those things. And on both sides of my family, so technically I'm Apache and Cherokee. So give me them checks, man. No, I'm just playing. I'm terrible. I really am terrible. I don't think that I'm always trying to be the same person, I guess, because I'm trying to change my personality constantly sometimes, but not exactly my personality, because I know that I'm gonna go revert back to that whenever I feel comfortable, or whenever I feel better off, or something like that. I'm not always trying to make a joke or trying to throw something over someone's head or anything like that. A joke going over someone's head or trying to make them feel like they're stupid. I don't always do that because I'm not always a dumbass. Be yourself and understand that there are people out there that care and want to help. And the more you try to realize your goals, UN are people who are trying to be UN, the United Nations, and I'm not going to say anything else bad. I'm just going to say that that's probably the main reason why America tries to back out all the time. Realize that if you don't have more witnesses, if you don't have more people there, if you don't have more evidence, then it's not worth America's time. And that's probably why we waited so long for World War II. Because we had to go through a whole bunch of different information that we actually created on our own through watching things. Or watching people. Or watching a whole bunch of different stuff. Or maybe just even going there and realizing that it wasn't the way that they were saying it. Or realizing that people were just making up shit. And they were trying to fight a war. So eventually a war happened because of people saying that there was going to be a war. If you don't listen to those people, then they won't fucking do anything. Then it won't happen, and they'll be stupid. That's the reason why they're mad, because they tried to start a war, and that's why they're stupid. So, realize that and understand that that's the reason why those people are stupid, because they make videos to try to scare people, trying to act like gangsters and shit, that they saw on rap videos, and then they try to act like, yeah, I'm having sex with girls all the time, look at me. And there's like a bunch of dudes in there. There's no women there. There are no women there. There's nothing there except for one camera and a couch and this dude trying to talk about he's had sex with women. That's it. And the camera's moving around like he's partying or holding the drink because they want to party. And also, they want to hurt people because they're stupid. And they want to start a war because they're assholes. That's the reason why. They're stupid, stupid assholes that do stupid, stupid things and should be ignored until they die of starvation sometimes. Not all of them. Just some of them. People that don't come back for food and realize that they're fucking stupid. Because if they don't realize they're fucking stupid, then they'll realize that eventually when they fall on the ground and then realize that they're gasping for air and that blah. It wasn't I'm not saying anything about the sarin gas attack, but I'm also saying that not everyone was suffering from that. Yeah. It had a lot to do with the way that it was gelled. Because the way that it was gelled, it basically covered up their intake, basically. That's the reason why. So if it was a gas or something, then it wouldn't have happened, and it wouldn't have made anything happen. But I'm thinking that it was a gel attack. Like there's a biomechanical gel that they made in order to be able to do that. Not biomechanical, but biofluid gel they made to be able to make people not breathe. And it covers up the intake valves, or intake of oxygen. And that's the reason why people were gasping all the time, because of the specific type of sarin attack it was. Not exactly sarin gas, because sarin gas just completely keeps going out. It doesn't, unless someone's face is right over it, it's not exactly going to start anything. And also it has to be tied to a certain propellant that creates a smoke or a carbon. So I know that. So because I know explosives. Not that explosive, but I know fireworks, and I know the reasons why fireworks exist and how they're made and stuff like that sometimes, because I live near fireworks, and there's fun. Fireworks, yeah, woo! I win! Have a good day. And also, be better for yourself. So, alright.